reach out to housing for a presentation to council. Okay, moved and seconded. Go ahead there.
I have just a question. Would this at all relate to our old high school situation?
yes.
You know, it's not going to affect it positively right away, but okay, that's all.
It does. Yeah. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thanks, folks. Okay. Shark Scramble. All right. So we have a request from Bob Gable. They are looking at a life-size replica made of the Canadian record shark caught in 2004 to have it permanently placed on the Yarmouth waterfront. So there's two pieces of that, and one of them is we understand that everybody isn't on board with that. However, those sharks are used scientifically. This isn't just a fishery and a waste. So go ahead there, Deputy.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll make a motion that let me just find it here. Right here, that the town of Yarmouth, where do we go? Just looking at there's the picture.
The request is $1,500.
I'll make a motion that the town of Yarmouth contribute up to $1,500 towards the shark replica project. And like you said, Your Worship, if I could speak to it, it will cause a little consternation and controversy, but people like you see pictures all the time from Shediac, New Brunswick on the world's largest lobster. You see people out west sitting on the world's largest moose. You see people over here in front of Frost Park getting their picture taken in the Maud Lewis. You saw when we had the cutout over here in front of Town Hall, I think at Christmas time. How many people stuck their head in those little holes and had their pictures taken? I think it'd just be another added attraction. And I know we're going to get some flack and some grief, and we should be spending the money on potholes and all the other things. But if it doesn't work out, we can crush it up and we'll put it in a pothole.
Go ahead, Jim.
When I first read the letter, I too had some concerns, and I know that DFO is a very important part of the shark scramble, and if they are a part of the scramble and monitor the activity of the event every year that we've had it, then I can support the cause, the installation. I would like to see an interpretive panel set up. I know that Chad and Todd have a location, and I think the location they've chosen is good, is excellent. And I'd like to see an interpretive panel just helping to explain. I'm not sure what, but DFO should have an important part of the content of that. And also, in speaking with my very good friend, Councillor Hood, twice over the past 2 or 3 days, he and I are prepared to make a donation of $1,500. Jim and Don and Joan and Cliff. So we'll support the project to that extent, Your Worship.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's not that it matters what I think, but
Yes,
I think it's a great project and long overdue. But that's not why I'm going to speak to you. I'm going to speak to you on two issues around this, and one Councillor MacLeod has brought up, and that is an interpretive panel. Some of the criticism around the shark scramble is just people who see wild animals being sacrificed for sport. And I think the shark scramble represents more than that. I think there's science involved in the shark scramble, and the interpretive panel might be an opportunity to extend that education that can come from what we're learning from the science around sharks. The model will draw people close, but the interpretive panel might be the opportunity to educate people about these animals and what the benefit of the shark scramble is in relation to understanding sharks and their movements and so on. The other part, though, is with regard to the Waterfront Development Corporation. This is an interesting project. It is on the waterfront, and I'm wondering if we should engage that group. We've had situations in the past where ideas have come up. I think of one, somebody wanted to put a dog statue. There were different things that came up that were related to the waterfront. And I think when we don't engage a committee that we have, or a board, sorry, that's specifically tasked with development on that area of real estate, if we don't involve them in this discussion, they're going to feel marginalized and unimportant. So it might be worthwhile. Certainly support it financially if that's council's intention, but maybe refer the project to them and indicate to the proponent that they should engage with waterfront development around their plans.
Okay, so I think they're already having conversations with Todd. So
I'll make a
maybe that they,
I'll add to the motion, Your Worship, it's all right with the seconder, that we include the Waterfront Development Corporation in the discussions.
okay? Go ahead.
I think we can go one step further. If you travel anywhere in the world, Cuba or any of those places, you always see a large sign of either Cuba or Barbados or any of those particular things. I'm thinking that we can go one step further and have like a replicate of our town and some flowers or something around it where they can stand right there and get a picture with just saying that something that as a keepsake they were in Yarmouth, and our waterfront is outstanding, a good place to put it at the same time. So something to consider, I think. I was looking at a couple pictures the other day that a friend sent me, and it looked outstanding with how they had colored them up or how they had made them. I think we need to get the group to also look at, this is a picture place right on the waterfront, which a lot of people that even come to visit here. I have a son-in-law who's here in town, Yarmouth, right now, and he's a fisherman, so he has some kind of app on his phone. So he's just clicking and driving and going to this and fly fishing.
Is that the football player?
Yeah, a football player. Yeah,
Where's he play?
and he's big. I'll just
Where's
say
he
that,
play?
bigger than me.
Who's your son-in-law play for?
Cleveland Browns. So anyway, but that's the problem that big pitch here, huh? The problem that I'm seeing though is that I think we need to. This would be a picturesque kind of thing that people will have for a lifetime memory that they were at Yarmouth. We are a fishing town, along with many other things. But we need to. I think that would be outstanding. So I think they need to consider it at the group. You said it's the waterfront development or with other groups. I think they need to go one step further. I love the idea of this, but I also love the idea of coming to Yarmouth and get myself a picture. Like if I was going any other place, I know I'd be standing there in front of it or to the side of it, pointing to it, having a good time that I was there.
Yep.
Okay, I think we need to consider that.
So can we pass that on when we'll pass that on as part of it. And also, I think we all said it, the messaging around it, right? The messaging is really important. Okay, so any further comments?
Question, Your Worship.
Who seconded that?
Councilor
Oh,
Barry.
okay. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Dairy Industry of Yarmouth. So we received a request from Frank as part of their 160th anniversary of the Western Nova Scotia exhibition, and they're doing a 24-page booklet.
Your Worship, I'll make a motion that we grant the request of the amount in the letter.
$650.
$650, and I guess at one time, maybe for a little history's sake, we did have, I think, up to 28 independent dairies in the Yarmouth County. We actually had some production dairies right here in the town of Yarmouth, out at Lawndale, and I guess the amount of money the dairy farmers contributed to the town of Yarmouth over the years would far exceed the $650. Contingent maybe with the other two municipalities contributing.
Okay?
Is he the one that had he had a cart that went around town one time when they said they had one at Cook's Dairy, but I heard from one of your relatives at one time that your grandfather's cart got out and the horse did the route without anybody on it. Nobody's on it, yeah. So where was the farm exactly? Because you guys are technically called, you guys technically called Salem?
Yeah, it was in Salem, where the trailer park is.
So that was Cleveland?
That was all the Cleveland area.
Okay.
All that was the area.
So Jeff, do we know, was that incorporated in 1891? Was Salem actually a part of the town of Yarmouth in 1891?
That's a good question.
Or is that a good question?
We were always called Salem in the same way that Milton's called Milton.
Well, yeah, you always, even like growing up, people would say Salem, right? Now you
Nobody does anymore.
you say Salem to somebody that's under 50 years old, they look like you're crazy. But
Yeah, we were Salem, we had cows, we never burned bridges.
What point? Fish Point? Never heard of it. At Fish Point? Oh, the monument. Not just the youngest, he's apparently the brightest.
yeah, we want Steve on trivia.
The only question I have is, I'm fully supportive, 150% supportive. Funding. Where do you steal that money from? What line, sort of thing? Because we spent some money.
Same place we got the shark money.
Yeah. No, I'm just asking. Just is it? I don't want it to be hard
It's
to
not
do.
over yet, Jerry.
I don't want it to be hard. I don't want it to be hard to do because this is great. You know what we're doing this morning.
$1,000 for the lieutenant governor.
We'd have to look at a couple.
500 for the other.
It could be under
I'm not going to spend it though.
or it could be under grants organizations or those types of lines.
Do it that way. I think we're good.
Community
IRDE,
events, we have money, community
they'll
events.
make sandwiches.
See where it fits.
It's the fire truck all over again, isn't it, Jerry?
It's all good. It's all good.
So, did we pass that motion? Okay,
Question.
questions called. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. T for the Lieutenant Governor. So, on August the 7th, the Lieutenant Governor and his wife are coming to Yarmouth. And actually, they were interested in coming here. And so I would love to be able to do something formal for them. So a tea in or garden party, whatever you want to call it, in Frost Park here. And I need some funds to do it, but
We'll make a motion that we
Chair.
grant up to $1,000 for the Lieutenant Governor's tea that's going to be held in Frost Park on August the 7th.
thank you. Have a second?
Up
$1,000.
up to $1,000.
And
I think
doubt
from-
that I'll need that.
From, just on a side conversation with their worship, Councillor Cleveland and Steve, Councillor Barry and Councillor McLeod, is, I guess you maybe have another organization or
Yeah.
two that is going to be willing to help out to cut down the costs in regards to product and some other things.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried.
Maybe we're going like crazy.
Correspondence. Sarah Corning reception.
spending money
So we
like-
have that one in front of us as well. And this one speaks to,
Spending
What
money
you're
spending money like,
well, I don't think I'll need. So the Sarah Corning event is in September. And to Natalie's point earlier, the opportunities here with all these, I mean, they're coming from all over the world, like literally all over the world. So it's a huge opportunity. So what they have asked, basically, is for us just to do a reception. I believe it will be before a formal dinner. And I guess we could have done it at the Grand, but I said, you know what, there's no reason we can't use this room. It's an appropriate place to hold it. So 2 questions, and one is to the CAO, and I may have already asked this. So the town doesn't purchase alcohol, but if somebody offered that, can we serve it?
Your worship, I don't know that we actually have a policy that we don't purchase alcohol.
Oh, okay.
We,
Let's not go there.
so let's be, you know, just to be clear,
Okay.
I know that we don't pay for alcohol when we make expense claims for travel and so on,
Okay.
obviously. But there may be times when it is appropriate to have wine or something of that nature, and I can review our policy around hospitality just to confirm that. So I'm saying I'm not sure that that's actually the case, that we can't. There is no policy that I'm aware of which prohibits alcohol in this room. You know, obviously, if we're going to have a function and we're going to have alcohol, we want to make sure we're properly licensed for that. And there's a little bit of a process there, but it's something we can manage.
Okay, all right. All right, and go ahead, Jim.
We don't need to have alcohol at a reception. They're going to walk across the street to the Grand Hotel.
Yes, they are, but you know
Let's-
what? It's, if it's appropriate at an event like that, then we,
Okay, just my
no,
opinion, though.
you're right. We
Thank
just
you.
don't need to, we don't need to purchase it.
We don't need to serve it either, I'm saying.
How many people are coming, Your Worship?
Okay, so what was it, Natalie, 40?
Yeah, I
Maybe.
think between 40 and 60.
Between 40 and 60, and it's just for appetizers, and it's just light, because we're going to dinner after. And Jerry, before you panic, we're probably not gonna use all these funds that we're, go ahead there, Deputy.
Yeah, I think I thought I turned it off, but, Your Worship, I'll make a motion that the town of Yarmouth host the reception on September the 14th. And we spend up to $750, Your Worship.
That works. Okay? Someone can have a second? Second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, so we have additions. I got rec costs, but what am I? Oh, recoverable costs on this piece, yeah, and apparently I was of the understanding it had something to do with us, but it doesn't. So, I guess we can leave it. My question was, we are asking, the deal with the government is a year's notice. So this is not a year. This is
But
a year.
I think, Your Worship, even though it might not affect us in a financial way, it affects some of our municipal partners, and I know when they canceled the memorandum of understanding with the towns back 7 or 8 years ago, some of the municipal units, the rural municipal units, came to our defense. So I guess if they can do that to one of our partners, then maybe they could do that to us one of these days. So make a motion that we send a letter back asking the provincial government to honor their commitment with the, is it 2 years, Jeff, or 1 year?
It's 1 year.
Ask them to honor the commitment in the 1 year process.
Okay? Second. Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. And then we added the sidewalk piece. So CAO, I'll let you take that if you're okay with that. Do you need this? Okay.
So, Your Worship, first of all, this got lost in my inbox for a couple of weeks, so the date it was received was on or around May 22nd. So this is a letter from the band manager, Acadia First Nation, indicating that they have an interest to develop a multi-purpose trail, I'll say. He refers to it as a sidewalk in here, but in on that sort of street in town, we're trying to use multi-purpose trails, and I think that's been the nature of our discussion. So he's proposing that this trail would run from, and the conversation we've had would be, the concept would be, it would hook up at Arcadia Corner and continue all the way into town to connect to the town's sidewalk system. The nearest sidewalk to where it would come into town right now terminates at the property right around the property line between Home Hardware and the movie theater. So I've talked to Charles about an estimate on this, and it's in the works in terms of what the cost would be. But part of this, because it goes out in the municipality, TIR is involved because TIR owns the streets or roads in the rural area, and so they have their standards and plans around how this could be done. So the First Nation is, Acadia First Nation is proposing the initial steps to this be undertaken, which involves some expenditure to develop a concept, a budget, and so on. So the question to the town is, do we want to participate? So I'll leave the letter for a second. We have on our agenda a number of sidewalk or multi-use trail projects that we're in various levels of, of development. So along Stars Road further up, we've started to extend our multi-use trail along Stars Road on the south side. Council has asked for consideration for a multi-purpose trail along the Haley Road from Stars all the way out, including Ellis Road. The question really is where will this fit? What's the cost? Where will it fit in terms of our priorities and the timing around it? There's also a question about the cost sharing and ownership. Obviously, we own street right-of-ways within the town, and we own the infrastructure. It's a different situation outside of the town because the municipality wouldn't actually own the street right-of-way. I don't know how it works when they build a sidewalk, if they own the infrastructure or if TIR does, but really that's not necessarily our issue. So I'll stop talking. If there's any questions, I suggest let's have a discussion and maybe provide some direction.
Yeah, maybe to Chad and maybe Frank. Your Worship, I have no problem with the investigation of it. I think my priority is still from Argyle Street over to the Haley Road or over to the Petro-Canada. We had that presentation here last month or the month before. She did a really nice job. When you go out in that corridor of town, that's what you hear a lot from the residents. You do see a lot of people walking along the street. But I just wondered, when we talk about this section that Lloyd and the Acadian First Nations are talking about, Frank, I know there's some things that the active transportation people have done on the outside on that airport stretch has been, I think, was that their #1 priority at one time? Was that Airport Arcadia stretch?
The Milo stretch
Was the first one?
and the airport stretch are the two key components in the active transportation strategy for the municipality. The only thing that I want to mention as far as the letter from Acadia First Nations, where they reference sidewalk, I know the town has done some neat things with, I like to call it an active transportation path, where it's a paved, wider pathway than sidewalk. So, I know that we still have sections of sidewalk within the town where sometimes it's not feasible to do that extra wide lane. But if at all possible, when this project goes through, if we could get similar types of active transportation paths done rather than the traditional sidewalk.
That's what I'd like to see incorporated, Your Worship, because I love seeing people, that Pleasant Street, people drive and park at the Shoppers Drug Mart parking lot, or on Sundays will park in the community college parking lot and use that Pleasant Street back and forth, and they'll go out to the water tower and back. And I don't see, I don't want to envision us doing that, something like that, going out to that corridor, and then at the other one, you have, like the dirt or the sidewalk that's like down in Rockville. I think that's got to be part of the package, right? But I think, Jeff, even if we said we'd agree to do this, this would still be next year or the year after, right? By the time you did all the engineering, all the other stuff, if you said tomorrow that we're going to do it and we'll fund our part for the Acadia First Nations and the municipality to do their thing, it would be still probably like a couple years down the road, wouldn't it?
I'm going to let him talk, Wade, and then
Oh, yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
go ahead.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't be immediate. It's not in our capital budget this year, so we don't have an estimate. We'd have to get that. You'd have to consider that in the context of your capital requests and, you know, decide if it's next year or the year after or whatnot. And as I mentioned, you know, and as I think you referred to as well, is we have other requests and ones that council has asked for directly. So we'll need some clarification about what it is we're going to execute first, right? And so that's part of the discussion as well. But your comments about the standard of build, I think that is key whenever we're doing have the opportunity to do a sidewalk or an active transportation trail along an arterial route. I think there's no question that the multi-purpose trail provides more opportunities and safer for bicyclists and so on.
Okay, Wade, can you put Wade, oh, sorry. Can you put Wade on?
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Just a few thoughts. First off, I agree. First off, I think when it comes right down to it, most people think, when they're thinking about sidewalks, the word is used in the same way a Band-Aid is used, if you know what I mean. In many ways, it's semantics. I really do. I think that you think of something as, you know, when we start talking about active transportation routes, you know, it's one of those words that, although it accurately describes things, it's more semantics than anything else. For me, any opportunity to work with Acadia First Nations is wonderful. But the first thing I did think of is what Councillor Mooney brought up, and that's the fact that I want that darn sidewalk on the Haley Road. Before any, yeah, towards Salem. My people in Salem need their sidewalk. So for sure on that one. So investigating it is great. I'm going to say something that's going to make steam roll out of Jeff's ears. I want to watch carefully to see if it actually does. But there's one other thing that's mentioned in this letter, and it's a very subtle thing, but it jumped out at me immediately. And what he says, and I quote in the second paragraph, "Without bus service to this community, residents of Acadia community are put in danger daily, which is unacceptable."
Yeah,
Smoke's going to roll out of your ears.
not.
Okay. I really do think that we should just stick a transit spot right there, just for a second. Run out there, run back. Damn lines.
Sorry.
First step towards amalgamation.
Okay, guys, can we just leave that for a minute? Hang on. Go ahead.
So, no, that's fine. That's perfect. That's a great segue. That's a great segue because there's some issues around that sort of issue that I want to discuss with council in camera later on this agenda. So, good segue.
No smoke at all? No? Okay, go ahead.
Your Worship, I'll make a motion that we
that.
explore the potential expansion of the sidewalk from Yarmouth Cinema along Sturridge Road to the, I guess it says Arcadia Corner, but I'll use that as their terminology, just to explore the expansion.
Okay. So I'm gonna say this because we were at the first meeting, and to Frank's point, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole if it weren't that multi-use trail.
Yeah.
Because going forward, that's what we need to do everywhere, right? And we all agree. So perhaps what Wade was saying is maybe they just kind of intermingled the terms, but we need to use the correct language, I think, going forward. And the second piece is, for us, it's from Arcadia Corner all the way, including our piece, and that means multi-use, paved the whole way, not just us.
And I think
That's the whole, that's, everybody's on board. We have priorities, and the last piece I just put was the messaging. It's very important, the messaging, because we're all interested in this. We are. But it's also important that we get that Haley Road done. Like those kids from the school and everything else, like we have to make sure that our priorities are, and that our priorities are respected too. But, so yeah, I think everybody agrees this is a good thing. We just have to make sure we do it the right way.
And in your famous last words, Your Worship, I do
imagine
listen to you. We will be at the table, right? So we can express
Yes.
those concerns at the table.
Absolutely, yes.
And I think that's the most important part. And that,
Yeah.
we could call that the A sidewalk, the first step towards amalgamation. Or regional government, or, Jim, how
I
you like
like it.
that? I said it for you. Frank, go ahead. And maybe and I think at that discussion is the active transportation people should also be included in that, because they said, Frank said they've already identified the two, the Milo stretch and the airport stretch, and I think they should have some input or some say on what's going on or their concerns.
Good, go ahead, Frank.
Just the one thing I wanted to mention was I think that the Haley Road project is a great project. But one thing that sticks out in my mind from many years ago, attending a trail session with Michael Haynes, who's a provincial, maybe even Canadian wide renowned trails person. We did a walk around Yarmouth and looked at all the different paths and trails and sidewalks. And one of the things that sticks out in my mind that he said is that look where people are already walking. Don't put a sidewalk or a trail in another place where people already are walking. So I think of the high school, where are the kids walking now? They're going through in back of the high school, coming out by the church, and then going through the cemetery. So I just thought I'd mention that. There's all kinds of different issues with some kind of a trail or a path there because there's so many different landowners, but I just thought I'd pass that along.
There's also that development out on the Haley Road too, with all those, the housing units and, yeah.
Question, Your Worship.
Okay, questions called, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary, motion carried. I think that was it. Okay, and a motion to go, oh,
Comment.
go ahead, Don.
But I missed the last meeting, and I usually try my best not to miss meetings. But Wish Foundation comes to Yarmouth every year. They start their trail in Cape Breton, and they run the whole distance of our province, and they make it to Yarmouth as our last stop. Last few years, it's been held by the Legion, and I think in future years, we are always invited as part of the town. So that's, and they make they try to raise a certain amount. I think their goal this year was somewhere around 40,000, and then they make a presentation to some young child who's needy, and they get a trip of their life. So I just wanted to say that I want to thank the Legion for putting on this kind of event. I want to thank the Legion for allowing us as either counselors or something to be there and be represented. And I also want to inform the public that this is something that happens, it seems to happen now every year in the town of Yarmouth. So that was one of the reasons why I missed, and I also had our prom night. So so I apologize for that, but it can't be everywhere.
No, can't,
Okay.
no problem. Okay, good to go? Motion to go in camera, folks.